The emotional zenith of the battle occurred when gunpowder supplies inside the fort were exhausted. To make matters worse, the only gunpowder stores left were located outside the fort. When a call was made for volunteers to go for the powder stores, 16-year-old Betty Zane stepped forward.
Betty Zane and her famous gunpowder run at the Second Siege of Fort Henry is easily the most identifiable event in local history. You think about a 16-year-old girl who stepped up and did things that really courageous men might have failed to take up the challenge on. And when she did it, she simply said, "I'll be less missed than a man," and with that, literally made her run into legend.
In an act of legendary heroism, the young teenager ran the gauntlet of Indian warriors and British Rangers and returned to the fort with all the gunpowder she could carry stuffed in her apron.
It may not sound like very much to make a 60-yard dash, but to do so running uphill carrying 25 pounds of powder, maybe under the sights of 200 rifles or so shooting at you, is truly the stuff that legends are made of.
Zane's heroic act in the Second Siege was to be Fort Henry's final moment of glory. But the legends it created live on as the drama, danger, and excitement of Wheeling's frontier history are brought back to life. During the day, visitors can walk through a U-shaped tent village featuring British, Patriot, and Indian encampments, see period craftsmen and artisans at work, and learn the storied histories of some of the most well-known characters of the time.
Louis Wetzel was more native than white. He lived in the woods like the native. He dressed like the native. He was so much like his enemies. And maybe perhaps that's why he was so good at defeating them, because he was so much like them.
Louis Wetzel was an Indian fighter. That's what he did, and that simply was, I suppose it'd be wrong to say his trade, but very definitely his vocation. Revisionist historians have come to present him in a very bad light. They want to make him out to be a mass murderer or a serial killer or things like that. And quite simply, that's not true. Perhaps the greatest testament to that fact were what the people of his own time thought of him. If you read the actual historical accounts, they viewed him as a rescuer and a savior.
People today don't realize what it was like back then. It was a way of life, plain and simple. You gave brutality for brutality.
He was fighting to protect his family. The natives were fighting to protect their families. So if you look at it that way, no, I think Louis Wetzel was a noble character.
Those wishing to take a piece of frontier history home with them can purchase a variety of items that include period weapons, clothing, books, and artwork.
You can find anything here from 18th century clothing to powder horns and knives. We have a gunsmith here. He is rifling out a barrel. There's all different aspects of 18th century life, 18th century camp life, I should say.
The highlight of each day occurs at 3 p.m. when over 150 reenactors take the field to recreate historical battles and events.
These reenactors come from a long way to be a part of this. We want them to enjoy themselves, and trust me, when they get to the battlefield, they most certainly do. You need to be fast on your feet to simply take advantage of what sometimes are very fluid battlefield conditions, probably much as they were in real life.
We go to extremes sometimes, but yet it's a pleasure because we're all getting older, and we just want to take that one next step to being able to really put on a good show for ourselves and for others.
This year, frontier history lovers are invited to a double celebration marking the 225th anniversary of the siege of 1782 and the 10th anniversary of Fort Henry Days. Join us September 1st and 2nd for a dramatic reenactment of the last battle of the American Revolution.
In my own words, I think you're going to be amazed. When you come out here and you see it in real life, it just changes your whole demeanor of how you think about this. You see people sweating, you see people actually get injured, you know, and it gives it real life, it gives it character. Instead of reading in a book, 1776, blah, blah, blah. You come here, you see 1776, you're like, yeah, this is good stuff, you know, this is fun stuff.
It's a free event, and it's a great learning experience for the children. I'd like to see a lot more families here. We do have a lot of families that come, and I think they really enjoy themselves for the weekend.
If you want to learn something of the past, you want to see something how we cook, or how your ancestors cooked, or how the tonnage was, what the military was like, you won't learn it if you don't ask questions.
when people attend Fort Henry Days, they can really expect to come and get a little glimpse of what life was like back in the 1780s. Coming to camp and visiting the encampments and talking to the reenactors, whether it be the soldiers or the natives, it immerses you in that element, and it really does give you a glimpse of life 200 years ago.
It's a chance to truly get immersed in the frontier culture. You know, it's period correct weapons and clothing and music and just everything about you. I mean, it's as close as you can come, again, short of stepping back into a time machine.